But the main thing I've been watching a documentary. Because I like a bit of a Netflix documentary.
You do?
And I like a bit of a white-collar crime documentary. I don't really like true crime stuff. I'm not a middle-aged white woman. I don't like the kind of the murdery stuff.
No, you've got XY chromosomes. You're not into it. It's not your thing.
Just I'm genetically predisposed not to enjoy that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But no, I've been me and Pippa watching Madoff, the Monster of Wall Street.
Monster of Wall Street.
So it's a 4-part limited series documentary about Bernie Madoff. Who,
I know who he is.
Oh, yes. Who was an American fraudster and the mastermind of the largest Ponzi scheme in history. He stole something in the region of $64.8 billion.
Yep.
Wow.
Probably not in jail there either, is he?
No, he went to jail.
Oh
yeah.
Wow. Usually they get off.
I read a book called Fat Cats of Wall Street, and he had a full chapter to himself.
Yeah, he died. He died last year, but the sentence he got. You can get the news. It's not a case of spoiling it. He got sentenced to 250 years in jail for the breadth of the theft that he caused.
What's that? Is it like 10 consecutive life sentences, something like that?
Well, it was one of those crimes that they can't give a life sentence for, because America, you generally only get life sentences for like violent crime.
So they gave him years rather than.
But they give him years for every single person he defrauded.
That was it.
And the documentary, the documentary is really well done. It's one of those kind of quite slick Netflix ones. But what I was quite surprised at, they actually had people from his investment firm talk about him, like first-hand sources of what he was like, what the office was like, the kind of things he was up to. None of the people who were like the direct co-conspirators, because the way Madoff did things, he had his investment firm, which was just like a normal investment firm. Like people would call up, they would buy and sell stocks on behalf of people,
like Stratton Oakmont.
Yeah, but then that was on the 19th floor of the building he was in, and then on the 17th floor he had the private investment company where he would invest money on behalf of people, and that was the Ponzi scheme. So most of the employees that he had were innocent. They didn't do anything wrong. They were just doing an investment company. But he had some which were like in a secret office downstairs that were also doing this kind of very illegal thing. And if you don't know what a Ponzi scheme is, so a Ponzi scheme is it was named after the guy who invented it, called Charles Ponzi, who was the first person to be convicted of it. But basically, you invest a tenner in me, and I say I can give you 100% return in 10 days.
Done.
In that next 10 days, Stig invests a tenner with me. I take that tenner and I use it to pay me back. Then Biggie invests 20 quid with me, and I use that to pay Stig back, and so on and so forth. It basically means you are constantly just cycling through money. But
and you can launder a lot of it, can't you?
A lot of it comes to laundering. The thing is with Bernie Madoff is the scale of his fraud was so ridiculous. Like he had princes of Europe like investing in him, but he also had like old people in Florida investing in him, because he'd go down to like the country club in Palm Beach, and he'd just be getting all these old retired rich people putting in. They put their life savings in with him.
He did it a lot with the retired Jews that go to Florida as well.
Yeah.
They were getting that big family money, and I mean like millions.
Huge family money, yeah.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize in the documentary tells you, like there were so many times the SEC, which is the Securities and Exchange Commission in America, there was about 4 or 5 times that they were onto him for something, and he just kind of like convinced them off, or they were too friendly with him because he was very well respected on Wall Street. And it wasn't until the financial crash of 2008 when people started quite rightly started wanting to pull their money out, and he's like, I don't have any money, and he had to confess to it.
Yeah. And
really sadly, like it was his sons that dubbed him in.
I declare bankruptcy.
His sons work for the firm, and when he told them, they went straight to the FBI and like dubbed him in, because they they couldn't be accessories to his crimes. And they weren't accessories to his crimes. They just worked at the upstairs firm.
How the justice system in America goes, you've got to defend yourself first, haven't you?
Absolutely. But it's a really well-made documentary. It's very interesting. You hear from people who work for Madoff. They have like kind of actors kind of doing the visuals kind of things. There is also some of Madoff's own testimony from when he was doing kind of when he was being sued by the victims in 2016.
Yeah, I remember it.
So you actually get to hear him talk about it. And then you also hear from some of the victims as well. There's a handful of victims that kind of came forward for it. But yeah, it's 4 parts. It's about 4 hours long on Netflix, and I really enjoyed it. There was some stuff like I've heard the Bernie Madoff story before a few times, but there was some stuff in this one I didn't know about. So I was quite surprised by it, and just surprised. Again, it's just one of those really well put together documentaries that Netflix are really good at doing.